welcome back to the Lollygaggers Dynasty Recap. It is me, your host, Zang, and I am joined by Ace. We are here to recap the penultimate week and give you a little preview of what is going to be just an unbelievably exciting final week of the regular season. I cannot believe we are here. Ace, how are you feeling?
Oh, man, I am feeling fantastic, and I mean, there's really nothing else to describe the way I'm feeling by just simply saying...
It's a Bee Gees night, folks.
It's a Bee Gees night. I'm on top of the world.
That is fantastic. Larry David might say you're pretty good.
Yes. Absolutely. So
yeah,
let's dive right into the match.
I was saying to Ace ahead of time, boy, you're really a great podcast host because you added absolutely as much drama as possible into the final week. So we have a ton of content here, and of course we're excited to get started with all of that. We will start with the first matchup of the week. That was Al Martinet versus Zang. Al Martinet came in 9th place, and I was coming in there in 11th place. So certainly not a playoff matchup, if you will, but there are draft picks at play for those who lose, and pride at play for those who win.
Yes.
I started off the week pretty strong with a nice 71-point performance. Flaherty knocked up 39 of those points for me. I held the lead through Tuesday as well with 43 points to 54 from Al Martinet, 11 of those coming from Kurtz. He had another strong performance from one of his young A's in Soderstrom on Wednesday when he put up 12 points, along with 26 from Fott and 37 from Luzardo. That totaled 118 for Al Martinet, but it wasn't quite enough to give him the lead because over on my side, I scored 119. Big pitching day with Rasmussen and Ober both putting up 21 points, and Sandy Alcantara, who's had 2 good starts in a row now, putting up a really, really fantastic 35 points there. However, on Thursday, it ended up being a bit too much for me to hold as Alex Freeland's 11 points helped lead Al Martinet to a lead in the series. He held it again on Friday when he put up 123 points to just 51 on my side. Things were not looking great when he had Colson Montgomery putting up 14, Pena putting up 16, Luis Morales from the Athletics putting up 28, and Brian Bayo breaking my heart and winning it at the same time, putting up 36 points. Over on my side, we did see 22 from the, finally from the debut of Bubba Chandler, who I expected around May, but, better late than never.
Eventually.
He made his way around finally. On Saturday there, Colson Montgomery put up another 14 for him, but over on my side, I got 117 points thanks to Torque's 12, Trevor Story's 14, and of course, Garrett Crochet's 37. It ended up very close, as you all saw in the Discord. I texted in, came down to my little trio of Red Sox there, Bregman, Story, and Anthony, and they, although did not win the game, got just enough across the plate. Along with Zach Gallen's 27 to score me 50 points, which was enough for the victory, 511 to 509. Just 2 points separating the two of us, with both of us now sitting at 8 and 13, tied in terms of record.
Yeah, so, not a huge matchup in terms of playoff, but definitely a big matchup, definitely with the outcome for draft picks, because this is now tied you guys up. Now, obviously, we have to look at tiebreakers and matchups and things like that. And we didn't really focus on too many of those for this pod. We just focused mainly, we focused mainly on playoff seeding, tiebreakers and things like that. But yeah, definitely a big game for draft pick purposes. And yeah, pitchers coming out to play today.
Yeah, absolutely. I was telling JMC, I was telling Ace ahead of time. Sorry, I'm looking at another sheet where I had JMC pulled up. I was telling Ace ahead of time that I don't really know how to feel about this because, boy, it feels nice to win in fantasy, and I might have just cost myself the second overall draft pick. So, but we'll be fine nonetheless. And it is always nice to win. And again, I sent that video of Bubba Chandler in. That's what I'm talking about when I say I think I can compete next year. He is working in bulk relief this year and still put up 22 points. I'm really excited about Chandler, and hopefully, this little, series of wins that I'm on is a preview into something better for me next year. Colson Montgomery, you heard his name obviously a bunch in the recaps. He was Al Martinet's best batter, and Jesus Luzardo on just one start with 37 points was his best pitcher. Over on my side, really happy to see this name back. Kyle Tucker putting up 34 points. Yeah. Nothing superstar level, but he had a rough month or so. So seeing him back up there on the top of my list is nice to see. And then Zach Gallen with 43 points on a couple of starts there rounded things out as my best pitcher. Absolutely, now it's time to move on to one of the two headlining matchups. It was Ace versus Prius, 7th and 5th place respectively. Their first time out, Prius did take the matchup over Ace, meaning Ace would be looking to tie things up here. So,
fighting for my playoff life.
Fighting for playoff life. Because Ace, let's see, you were coming in 7th place, just a spot out of the playoffs, and you would have been at 10-10, right at 500.
Yep.
While Prius was sitting at 11-9. So a win, of course, would tie these two up. And Ace started out strong, 112-86. Not too shabby there on the first day. 25 from Yamamoto, 33 from Peralta. Of course, Prius didn't do too shabby either, with 19 from Trey Turner and Paul Skeens putting up 26 points. Boy, hell of a week for Turner. We'll continue with that in a bit later. Ace held again on Tuesday with 99 points to 114 over on Prius' side. We saw some pretty crazy stuff over there from Prius. McNeil with 19. Another batter putting up 19. That's kind of crazy. Hunter Brown with 26. Jacob Lopez, who's a name we'll return to later, putting up 28. And then, of course, Skubal putting up 37. Prius has moved on from having Skeens and Skubal going the same day to having them going back-to-back days. So you just get punched twice instead of having it be, one big haymaker all at once. On Wednesday,
tell me about it, man.
Ace held again. We saw Trent Grisham put up 15, and Hurston Waldrop, another really solid performance with 37. On Thursday, he held good as well. Friday, again, 15 from Adames, 25 from Evaldi. We had a great day from Prius on Saturday, scoring 76 points on 13 from Caminero, 11 from Riley Green, 25 Pepio. Skeens had 40. But remember that name I said we'd come back to? Jacob Lopez put up minus 24 on Saturday. So what was a fantastic start for him on Tuesday, unfortunately kind of unraveled back on Saturday, and it wouldn't quite be enough to wrestle the lead away from Ace. And Ace did lock the win in on Sunday with a commanding 120-point performance. Freddie Freeman had 19 points there. Michael Garcia with 11. Grisham, I got to see firsthand, put up 17 on 2 homers. Pivetta with 25, and then Yamamoto again with 26. So, like I said, this is pretty much the podcaster's dream in terms of content because I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but we have 3 teams who are all looking to get into the final 2 spots in playoffs. So, there's going to be some heartbreak. We know that for sure. But yeah, this was, I think, the matchup that we had hoped for. It was not, super, super close, 563 to 504, 59 points separating the two of them. And Ace did go wire to wire in terms of ending on the day, but it was certainly not a lightweight performance there from Prius, who put up some of the craziest batter numbers 2 days in a row with middle infielders putting up 19 points. What the hell is that?
Yeah.
Turner had another 17 on Wednesday. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah,
but
Caminero had another 12 today with the grand slam.
He's speaking of, oh my God, is that guy?
Jesus.
He's something special. Ace, take your victory lap. Tell us about the matchup, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, this by no means was a easy, or did I have at any point did I thought I had this matchup locked in the bag. I think really the only time I finally felt okay, I think we're good, is when Grisham hit that first home run, and then he hit that second home run, and I'm like, all right, yeah, I think we'll be just fine. Got the win points in, got the quality start points in from Pivetta and Yoshi. So all around, and then Jacob Lopez, as awful of a game as he had, like you mentioned, still ended up winning by just under 60 points. So it wouldn't have made a huge difference, but there was some insane chess piece moves made throughout this entire matchup. Coming into today, to Sunday, I should say, I purposefully sat one of my starting pitchers yesterday, to not lose out on so many points. or excuse me, not to lose on 70 points, so I could get a double start in today to surpass the limit. I had, obviously, Pivetta and Yamamoto on the mound, so I had to bite the bullet. I did bench a 21-point performance from Freddie Peralta. It hurt in the moment, but I knew, if I had any chance at beating Flaming, I needed to make some pretty drastic moves here, and so definitely a great matchup. Happy to keep my playoff hopes alive. Like you mentioned, just more content for the pod, but also, I mean, this league has just been producing marquee matchups, and they've been delivering, so to have another one really pull through, and man, I just feel like there's just something about Sunday, man. You either get shafted hard or your guys come through in a big way, and we see a lot of matches lost and won on the final day.
Big time. Yeah, and for the record, folks, that is the perfect use of the, quote unquote Sunday glitch rule. I love that. I was wondering, because, obviously going through bench blunders, one of those names does appear on there, although it wasn't really a blunder because, of course, both of them did outscore him, and doing this allowed you to get both of those starts in. So that is, I think, one of the things I love personally about like a start limit league. Like, there's strategy in that. It's not just, did you get all your players in? It's, things like that. Oh, I'll be able to get 2 starts in here if I don't do this 1 start here. So very, very nice work there. And obviously Prius put up a fantastic performance. Not to get too far ahead, but he had some pretty exceptional best batters and potent pitchers, as you would imagine by some of the numbers I read out. We're coming into a week where it's going to be pretty intense. Speaking of those batters and pitchers, Freddie Freeman with 52 points was Ace's best batter. And also one of the league's best batters, Nick Pivetta, with 57 points, was Ace's best pitcher.
Got him.
And also one of our best pitchers. Let's not keep you waiting. Flaming Prius with Trey Turner had 49 points, who was one of the league's best batters. And then, of course, he also had Paul Skeens with 66 points, who was one of the league's, say it with me, best pitcher.
Got him.
So, we had best batters and best pitchers on both sides of this matchup. It obviously turned out exactly how we had hoped it to in terms of, like, the quote unquote star power there. Like, it felt like all guns were blazing on this one, and Ace came out on top, and we will see Ace and Flaming sort of face off again next week, if not directly, but sort of in competition for one of those 2 final spots.
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, too, for Prius, I did score the most points in, of the week of any guy. Spoiler alert, I know it's fairly into the second matchup, but I did put up the most points of anybody this week. So you take that loss a little bit on the chin. You feel, good about how your guys performed, and I think we'll get into next week's matchups, too, but I think Prius should feel really good about his playoff chances.
Yeah, it wasn't a bloodbath or anything, for sure. It definitely, sometimes you get matchupped.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, well, and that was the case here, but we'll move on now to In 10 in 8th place versus Oki in 10th. Once again, not one of our, marquee playoff matchups, but a
generous.
Draft picks are on the line here, folks. Draft picks are on the line. And we saw Oki come out pretty strong early. He's been really, really sort of battered by matchups and just he's scored a ton of points, has a great team, but has been off there. So obviously shows out really nicely early on with 16 from Gunner and 17 from Harper. Over on the 10 side, Kyle Teal got 12 points. Oki had 57 points on the next day with In 10, scoring 65. On Wednesday, it was 58-20. On Thursday, 47-58. It just kept going, although on Friday, In 10 did bounce back with his first 100-point performance in the matchup. Actually, the first and only 100-point performance of the matchup when he scored 108. Soto got 17 on that day, and Nolan McLean had 32, so very solid for him over there. Wasn't quite enough to wrestle that lead away. Neither would be Perdomo's 13 points on Saturday, and neither would be Jacob Marksey's handful on Sunday, as Oki Sooner would go wire to wire. Finished up really strong with 91 points there. Gunner putting up another 11. Jazz with 21. Again, unfortunately, I had to watch that one firsthand. And Tyler Rogers, Trevor Rogers. I can't keep these fucking Rogers straight. Trevor Rogers with 34 points. The Baltimore
one of the Rogers.
Yeah, one of those fucking guys. With 34 points. Really, really, really strong showing there as Oki did end up taking the win 474 to 403. That's a 71-point differential. Oki Sooner is now sitting at 9 and 12, within 10 at 8 and 13.
Yes, so like we mentioned, another matchup, not necessarily playoff implications on the line. However, draft pick purposes, definitely playing huge factors into this. Of course, two people coming into this game with identical records, both at 8 and 12. So for Oki to take this win, take it for what it's worth. Obviously, nobody likes to lose, but in this case, does lose out on a fight for a potential top 5 pick. So we'll see what happens and how big those implications play come draft day.
Yeah, absolutely. But don't forget, pride is on the line too.
Pride. 100%
Never
pride is
forget
on the line.
Pride.
I will never clown somebody for taking a win when it means nothing. Wins are wins, damn it.
It is time for Zang's Pop Trivia Quiz Show. How are you feeling? Our contestant today is Ace Garcia. Ace, we have a batter leading the league in points. That batter's name is not Aaron Judge. That batter's name is not Shohei Ohtani. What batter is leading the entire league in batter points?
Well, I'm going to take a wild guess. I know he's been performing pretty well throughout the season, but just going to take a wild guess saying that he was Inten's best batter of the week. Is it Perdomo by any chance? It is
Geraldo motherfucking Perdomo.
Yeah.
39 points for Inten's best batter. Yeah, I love fantasy baseball so much. Because, of course, Geraldo Perdomo, the guy who was traded like 2 weeks in after being picked up off the waiver wires, is the best batter in the entire league a week from the end of everything. I just thought that was hysterical. Had to throw that in there.
That's insane.
Sneaky, one of the better trades in terms of like in-season value that we've had this year. I know Mike obviously got him off of waivers, so it's sort of that, found money kind of thing. But yeah, Intent traded for him, I think, like week 1 or 2.
Imagine if Mike still had him.
Right? Oh my God! Don't give me nightmares, man. Come on.
Sorry.
Nolan McLean had 32 points. He was Intent's best pitcher. Then over on the other side, we had Gunnar Henderson putting up 38 points as Oki's best pitcher, and Trevor Rogers with Trevor Rogers with a very nice 69 points was Oki Sooners' best pitcher, and of course,
got him.
Our potent pitcher. Nice. Really, really nice. Of course, a nice performance there from Rogers, and a solid stretch for him, man. We were clowning on the O's like crazy for the Kyle Stowers trade, and look, it still hurts trading Kyle Stowers, but what they've gotten out of Trevor Rogers, like, I think we can stop that clowning now. They got something good there too.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it definitely hurts to trade Kyle Stowers. It definitely doesn't hurt as much as dropping him to waivers. I don't know what idiot would do that.
Yeah, no, that doesn't sound like anything anyone would do.
All right, let's go on to the next
Let's go. Moving on.
Fuck, man.
Yeah, no, just...
I could really use an outfielder, by the way. I don't know why the fuck I dropped him.
We need to get you a little Mizorowski button so you can, whenever you're feeling bad about
true.
yourself, you can
That's
just
true.
throw it back in my
You know
face.
what? I feel better now. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Hey. One co-host to another. Mike versus Big Peach was our next matchup. This was one of our ones that did feature a couple of playoff teams. Mike, of course, in that upper echelon in 4th place, looking to stay up there, and Peach in 6th place, looking to hold his position, or maybe even give himself a little bit of an advantage among those other ones grappling for those last 2 spots. Mike... unfortunately had a bit of a slow start to the week as he scored just 24 points, but Peach put up 67 over on the other side with Robbie Ray accounting for 34 of those. Mike had a nice second day, though. He came back very strong with 144 points.
God
Bellinger with
damn.
19, Merrill Kelly with 23, Hunter Green again strong with 28, and of course Christopher Sanchez was there with 29. Wasn't too shabby, though, over on Peach's side with 108 points, thanks to 12 from Olsen, 13 from Carroll, and 23 from Seth Lugo. Wednesday was a quieter day as Peach held the lead again through Thursday, which was another quiet day for the two, just 33-43. However, on Friday, Mike struck back with the third 100-plus point performance and his second of the matchup on 36 points from Wu. Shane Bieber made his first start for Big Peach, where he got 34 points. Really nice to see that over for Peach there, who's had him stashed for a while. Mark Vientos, recent trade acquisition of Mike, scored 15 points on Saturday, and Kirby 21, as Mike held the lead that he had taken on Friday. Nola, another trade acquisition, this time by Peach, put up 25 points. Wasn't quite enough, though. And then Mike did end up putting the nail in the coffin on Sunday, thanks to 18 points from Cal Raleigh, as, you know, give him a little clap for Big Dumper, breaking the catcher home run record. And then, of course, Merrill Kelly showing up again with 37 points this time. Not too shabby. Mike did take the win, and it ended up being our biggest margin of this week. 102 points separated the two of them. 517 for Mike, 415 for Big Peach. Mike is now sitting at 14-7 with Peach at 11-10.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, big playoff implications on this matchup. Not in terms for Mike as far as making the playoffs, because he has locked in a playoff spot, but this is a huge loss for Peach. With a win here for Peach, he essentially locks in a playoff spot as well. But with a loss here, he does open himself up to potentially have that spot snatched from him in this coming week. So we'll see what happens here. This loss could mean nothing for Peach, or he could look back on it as playoffs are occurring and wondering, damn, with a win here, I would have been in.
I would have been in, absolutely. Yeah, it's a tough one there. And Mike definitely, I think, continuing to put down a stamp. We know how much he's gone all in. Just, you know, obviously talking about Mike's all-in push, I think Zach Wheeler has to be brought up. One of the biggest acquisitions, period, this season. I mean, he was
500 plus points when he got
second
traded.
in pitcher points almost the entire season. So obviously to have a guy like that go down when you're making a playoff push is tough. In a dynasty format, to have a guy like Zach Wheeler go down with thoracic outlet syndrome is even worse, I would say. Yeah. That is Syndergaard's career ended because of it. Matt Harvey's career ended because of it. There really just haven't been major success stories that come after thoracic outlet. So I know the surgery is supposed to take 6 to 8 months, so, you know, we don't really know when or, frankly, if we'll see Zach Wheeler again. Obviously, I don't like put that out there, but, you know, he already said I think, was planning to retire after next season, so depending on how things go, I mean, this guy's a competitor. He'll probably come back, but that is a tough blow for Mike just what's been obviously a phenomenal run for him, and, you know, going all in and acquiring a guy like that, and then, you know, losing him to something like this is, you know, something we gotta cover. So
yeah, definitely a brutal injury to happen, especially right before a playoff push. And like you mentioned, you know, Mike did give up some valuable assets to obtain him. Of course, you know, Wheeler being an insanely hot commodity. So, you know, hopefully this doesn't hurt him too bad. He did get Hunter Green back from injury recently as well, so that potentially reinforces the pitching staff just a little bit. Mike obviously has a great lineup. This is in no way, you know, saying that he's going to just like fall out week one or round one of the playoffs. But, you know, having a pitcher of that caliber and to not have him anymore for a playoff push, that is definitely a big blow and leaves you more susceptible to potentially some losses you weren't thinking about having.
Absolutely, yeah, that is for sure. A lot to say about. Yeah, we we even saw one of those in Hurston Waldrop there, who I know is one of the pieces that came over, put up 37, and that's, you know, but that is part of the dynasty trading format, and that's where we are. Let's see, we're on. Yes, here we were with Mike. 31 points for Bo Bichette. Sorry, I'm scrolling around a little bit, so I just got lost for a second. 31 points for Bo Bichette was his best batter there. And although, of course, he did lose Wheeler, Merrill Kelly has been filling in nicely with, just a casual 61 points.
Got him.
One of our potent pitchers for the week, as well as Mike's. Over on Peach's side, Schwarber, of course, put up 31 points. ever present in these lists. And then Robbie Ray with a really nice 39 points there, mostly from that first start on Monday, was Peach's best pitcher for the week.
Absolutely. Yeah, Schwarber is one of those, like, I don't want to say weird ones, but it's like he is very boom or bust, and that's very tough to have in the utility spot. Mm-hmm. But man, when he's on, it is a sight to behold.
Yeah, he's going.
He's mashing.
He's pretty special, for sure. Serial Chillers versus Bose was our fifth matchup. Serial Chillers, of course, coming in 12th place, and Bose in third. Bose did win their first matchup, so, looking to continue and parlay that on and stay at the upper echelon of our performers in the league. And to start things off, Bose had a really solid start. 70 points, just 41 over on Serial Chiller's side. Brady Singer's 26 points led Bose's kind of charge there. Bose did hold it with another 70-point performance with 76 on Tuesday. Over on the other side, though, Chillers had a really nice day. 58 on his side with 11 from Pasquantino and 26 from Michael McGreevy. He had a little bit of a copycat day on the next day when Pasquantino had 12 points instead, but this time Parker Messick had 26 points as well, similar to McGreevy the other day. Over on Bo's side, O'Hearn had 12, but the 103 points that Serial Chillers did put up on Wednesday was enough to give him the lead and take it from Bose. However, it would be a short-lived lead, as on Thursday, Bose pulled it back and did hold things through the end of the week. Slade Sessione had a nice 21 on Friday, Webb a solid 26 for Bose on Saturday, and Chandler Simpson with 11 and Singer with 31. Did, put a nice little exclamation point on the week for Bose. Serial, unfortunately, just scoring 10 points on that last day. But this did end up being a pretty solid and clean-cut matchup. I misspoke earlier when I said that the Mike and Peach one was the biggest differential. This was actually our biggest differential with 164 separating the two of them. 491 for Bose to 327 for Serial Chillers.
Yeah, again, this matchup is probably the first one that didn't really have any significance to it as far as, draft picks, playoff seedings, anything like that. Serial, of course, our resident basement dweller, locked in now. He is the only one so far that is locked into his draft pick. He is, of course, holding of the number one draft pick. So, we'll see what happens with him. But Bose, big win for him to maintain his top of the league stature in terms of record-wise. He is tied with a couple of other people at 14-7, so making his push onward towards the postseason.
Absolutely. Yeah, we had some pretty solid batter and pitcher performance actually here, though. Pasquantino with 67 points was not only, of course, Serial Chiller's best batter, but our best overall batter for the week. 67 points from Pasquantino. He's really showing out in KC. That's good to see. I know obviously he had some injury trouble last year, and things got off to a bit of a slow start this year, but he's really, really shown out and looks like a nice young piece for Serial Chillers moving forward. Parker Messick and Michael McGreevy both had 26.7 points, so take your pick on which one of those two you want to be Serial Chillers' best pitcher for the week. Over on both sides, Wilson Contreras got 31 points for him, and then David Peterson with 61.
Got him.
Potent pitcher for the league as well as for Bose. Now we will finally move down to our last matchup, our sort of co-headliner for the week. It was the 1-2 matchup as JMC and Hideki went up against each other. JMC did win their matchup the last time out, so of course one of them is coming out on top this week. But if JMC were to lose this week, and then Hideki were to win the next week, JMC were to lose, they'd be tied, it'd come down to points. That didn't happen. But that would be, why this was so exciting. And we had a banger of a start to the week. We saw JMC come out with 91 points on the first day, 13 from Michael Harris, 24 from Gavin Williams, and 22 from Jurickson Profar. If you're playing at home, why is that especially painful? Well, Jurickson Profar was drafted in the 11th round by Hideki and then later dropped after his suspension news came out. Preview, that is not the last time you're going to hear Jurickson Profar's name in this list. Of course, Ranger Suarez did put up 34 on the other side for Hideki. Solid there. JMC came back on Tuesday, 114 points. Profar again with 11, tied with Judge on that day, who also put up 11. Rodon had 24 and Scherzer had 26. Down to Wednesday when we saw Langford put up 14 and Cam Schlidler with 36 on his, almost perfecto that he had there. Rice put up 11 for JMC on Thursday as he continued to hold that lead. William Contreras with 13 on Friday, and Royce Lewis with 16, which he held again through Saturday with Jack Leiter's 43 points, and through Sunday with Yuri Perez's 27. We had some consolation from Hideki on that last day. So he did put up 115 points, 11 from Tyler Ward, 37 from Logan Gilbert, and 43 from Ranger Suarez. But unfortunately, that big boom on the final day would not be quite enough, as 92 points separated them to finish things off. And JMC won the matchup 525 to 433. JMC is now 14-7 with Hideki at 13-8.
Yeah, like you mentioned before the start, one of the marquee matchups of the week, JMC solidifying a 2-0 series win over Hideki this first year in Dynasty. So not only locking up the better record against Hideki, but should JMC lose next week and Hideki win, JMC still holds that tiebreaker. So firmly cementing himself over Hideki, and Hideki being a top 4 team, top 5 team, that is a huge, huge win for JMC here.
Big time, yeah. Very, very impressive. And of course, both of these teams are certainly locked in, but we don't want to forget those top 2 spots get a bye week after next. So, that is, having a chance to get one of the top 2 spots is incredibly important. Technically, Hideki could get one of the top 2 spots if the top 3 teams all lose, and then he has tiebreakers over certain ones. He's probably not getting one of those top 2 spots. So this win for JMC put him into a position where he is working against 2 other people to kind of work for those top 2 spots and hopefully get that bye. So big win for JMC. And although Hideki, I'm sure, is certainly disappointed that he lost and is probably not getting that bye, he's still locked into the playoffs and will be playing in the postseason. So that's certainly exciting for him as well. As I mentioned, this would not be the last time we're hearing his name. Jurickson Profar with 49 points was JMC's best batter. And one of the league's best batters, Carlos Rodon, with 44 was his best pitcher. Then over on Hideki's side, 45 points from Bobby Witt made him one of the league's best batters. And, of course, Hideki's best batters. Then Ranger Suarez with 77 points.
Got him.
The league's best pitcher this week. 77 points from Ranger Suarez. Jeez.
It was not enough, sadly.
Was not enough. Isn't it? Yeah, and of course, that's crazy. In that way, this does really mirror real-life baseball. You can have absolutely bananas, insane performances like that, and your team still loses.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the way it happens. Alrighty, well, a little bit of a shakeup from where we were. James, again, I still have that pulled up on the other screen. Ace, please tell me, what are the standings looking like this week?
Yes, so, we have our top 3, I don't want to say locked in, because we obviously still have a week to play, but our firm top 3 as of now. Bo's in that top spot, JMC right behind him, and Mike rounding out the top 3. Hideki alone in 4th place with a 13-8 record. This is where it starts to get a lot interesting, though. We have 3 players, all with the 11-10 record, fighting for those last 2 playoff spots, the 5 and 6 seeds, for the pleasure of playing Mike and or Hideki in the first round. Peach, Prius, and myself, Ace, all finishing up, rounding out that playoff line. Oki starting us off for the eliminated tier, 9 and 12, alone in that Ace spot. Another round of 3 here with Zang, Al, and Inten, all at 8 and 13. Some interesting fights for draft picks there. And as we mentioned earlier, Serial Chiller, our resident basement dweller, at 5 and 16, rounding out our standing. So not a whole lot of movement, a lot more movement over in the top areas in terms of just seedings. No playoff movement as of right now. However, there is the potential for that next week once we get into our matchups.
Yeah, we're gonna put a pause on playoff talk for right now because we did our best to break things down as much as we can. It's really fucking confusing. But I think we did our best to break it down as much as we can. And after this episode is over and it's posted, I will send a screenshot of the the sort of standing segment, and then also our playoff matchup notes. So you can kind of have. I'm certainly a visual learner, so you can have those as well as a little bit of a reference point. Pardon? Oh, yeah, you guys got to see the rainbow. Exactly.
The rainbow's great.
It's perfect. But we did, of course, have a few bench blunders this week. I'll start off by walking us through our bats. On Saturday, George Springer had 14 points on Hideki's bench. Of course, that would not have made up for the 92 points, but still a solid performance that was left on the bench. After he put up 12 on Monday, Kyle Teal put up 14 on Tuesday. Unfortunately, it was on Inten's bench, although a little bit of a consolation, of course. Alejandro Kirk put up 11 points on that day, so really only a 3-point differential. Could have got him in the DH, blah, 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 blah. It is what it is. But, of course, Kyle Teal with 14 there on Tuesday was our second place bench blunder. And our first place one, Giancarlo Mike Stanton with 19 points on Tuesday was left on JMC's bench. Stanton, another you don't want to say all boomer bust because he certainly doesn't just hit homers, but
yeah.
when he has good days, they're great days, and when he doesn't have good days, they're
rough days.
They're neutral or rough. So it's obviously hard to gauge, but ended up that it was one of those good days on Tuesday when he racked up 19 for JMC. What about the arms? What are we looking at here?
Yes, so for the arms, first up, we have a little bit of a twofer here, but kind of an asterisk on this one because, like I mentioned, there was a bit of tweaking and toying for to not meet the pitcher lineup. The pitcher limit starts for the week. So Blake Snell and Freddie Peralta for both of them, both for myself, dropping 22 and 21 points on Saturday and Friday. The only thing with that, however, is I wouldn't necessarily say those were bench blunders as much as I had a little bit of some bench starts. I picked up Yandres Gomez in his matchup against the Braves early on in the week on Monday. Thought, he might put up some solid points for me against a potentially struggling Braves lineup. He did not. He allowed, it wasn't a horrible game. 3 runs allowed on 7 hits, but only put up 11 points there. And then I also had the very next day after that, I had a Tanner Bybee start at 11 points as well. So maybe not so much bench blunders, but more so I shouldn't have started some other guys in the beginning of the week. Finishing off on our last two, Jameson Taillon dropping 27 points for Bose on a Tuesday start. And the biggest one of the week for the pitchers, Cade Horton with a whopping 34 points on Saturday for Oki. Oki didn't really matter for him. He won the game anyways. So, take that with a grain of salt. Same with Bose, won his matchup regardless. And same with me anyway. So all of these arms, although they were bench blunders, quote unquote, did not matter in the grand scheme of things.
Absolutely, yeah. And this week we will be skipping wasted waivers. I looked through the names, to be honest, none of them were kind of like, ooh, that's intriguing a little bit. It's either guys who have shown up or guys who had like a matchup in a good ballpark or against a shitty team. And we thought it would be better to, kind of take a little bit of extra time to dive into playoff matchups and all that. So we will be skipping that. And Ace, why don't you tell us about next week's matchups? Walk us through next week's notes.
Yes, so the first matchup of the week, actually does have some big playoff implications on the line. We have Oki Sooner, the AC, taking on Big Peach, the 5th seed. Big Peach did take this matchup the last time they faced off against each other. However, Oki with a chance to play ultimate spoiler here, because with a win here, wouldn't officially eliminate Big Peach with just a win, however, could put him on the brink of elimination, so Oki Sooner with definitely a chance to do something crazy here. Definitely will be looking into that matchup as well. Another big matchup here for seeding-wise, JMC taking on Zang. JMC currently in that second spot right now, just behind Bose, so he's obviously looking to maintain, either keep pace with everybody and lock himself into that second spot, or potentially with a Bose loss, take that first seed from under him. Either way, both of them are going to have a bye, so not anything too crazy, just, picking straws at that point, but still a matchup to keep an eye on nonetheless. This is the, not the biggest, this is another big matchup in terms of playoff seedings, or playoff positionings. Myself taking on Serial Chiller, Ace, of course, or Ace. Myself, obviously, beat Serial in our first matchup, so again, on for playoff lives here. Definitely need a win here against Serial. Serial could... This one is lose and go home for me, because if I do lose this matchup, there is no tiebreakers. Doesn't even matter. I am eliminated, so Serial with a chance to play Ultimate Spoiler this week. And I say Ultimate Spoiler because he is in the basement dwelling. He is locked into that 1 seed, win or loss. So, when you play a man with nothing left to lose, that is the scariest thing possible. So we'll see what happens in that matchup there. Another we had the Zang and JMC 9th and 2nd place. We have 1st and 11th place going on right now, with Bose taking on Inten. Inten did beat Bose in their previous matchup, however, and Bose, again, with a win here, cements himself in that 1 seed. Loss here does potentially open up the possibility, we'll have to see with tiebreakers and whatnot, to drop him out of those first 2 seeds, so definitely needs a win here. Again, lots of upset potential here this week. We're going to be hate watching to the utmost degree here, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Second to last matchup of the week, we have Prius in the 6th spot taking on Al Martinet in the 10th spot. Prius beating Al Martinet in their first matchup. But, however, this is a massive matchup for Prius here. I believe he is on a 3-game losing streak coming into this final matchup of the regular season. Al Martinet with a win here, again, similar to what Oki could do to Big Peach, can set up Prius for an elimination run should I win against Serial Chiller. So we will definitely be keeping an eye on this matchup as well. And the final matchup as well, this is probably the biggest one in terms of how close the teams are in the standings and for what it could mean. Hideki in that 4th spot taking on Mike in the 3rd spot. Although they are separated by just 1 place, they are separated by an entire game. Of course, Hideki at 13 and 8, Mike at 14 and 7. So Hideki trying to potentially fight in. Again, we can get into those tiebreakers. We didn't really spend too much time on first seed tiebreakers. We spent a little bit, but Hideki needs a lot of magic to happen for a potential sneak into that 2 or 1 seed here. So a lot of interesting matchups. This is the best thing about the final week of the season, is that every matchup is going to play a huge role in terms of seedings and playoff matchups.
And this is serendipity at its finest. There are 6 teams we are going to talk about that are jockeying. 3 of them are jockeying for 2 spaces in the playoffs. 3 of them are jockeying for 2 spaces at the top of the leaderboard. None of those teams are playing each other. So every single matchup is critical this week. And that's not being hyperbole at all. Absolutely incredible. I love it so much. Now would be the time, folks, to pull up those screenshots that I sent you on Discord, that I'll send, of course, after we record this, to sort of follow along as we talk things over. So the first thing we are going to discuss is top of the leaderboard seedings. So as we mentioned, Mike, Bose, and JMC are our 3 teams who are currently sitting at a record of 14 and 7. The 3 of them are jockeying for those top 2 spots because top 2 spots get a bye. So whoever finishes 3rd will not receive that bye. They will still get to play the 6th place team, but, that's not as good as a bye. So let's start by quickly reviewing what separates these teams, and then we'll talk about some of their head-to-head records. So the first thing that matters is head-to-head record. If you won both of your games against an opponent, that means no matter what, if you finish with a tied record, you are ahead of them. If you are tied in record, as many of these are, what it comes down to is total points. So we'll start with JMC, who is tied in record against Bose and Mike. So for JMC, scoring points is the most important thing. Moving on to Mike, who, as we said, is tied in record with JMC. However, Mike actually lost the matchup to Bose. Both the times they matched up, Bose did beat Mike. So if both Mike and Bose win this week, that means that Bose will finish ahead of Mike. Now, the question is, as I'm thinking this over, where does that put JMC?
So
yeah,
JMC,
go ahead.
So JMC here, so looking based on the matchups and for total points scored, because Mike does hold the tiebreaker. He is the leader in the league in terms of total points scored. Bose is also ahead of JMC in terms of that as well. So JMC, in order to lock himself into the number one seed, would need a Bose loss regardless. There is no way around it. With a Bose win, he does lock himself. So Bose controls his own destiny here in terms of the number one seed. He can lock that up with simply just winning. All the other matchups don't matter for him. JMC can lock up JMC could lock up a bye week with a win and a Mike loss as well. I believe we'd have to look right now, because it also sometimes it doesn't make sense. Some of these standings, we've seen it kind of be weird in the past, so usually it straightens itself out. So Mike should be ahead of JMC in the standings as of right now. So again, in order for JMC to get a bye, he would need to have a Bose or a Mike loss coupled with a win for himself, of course.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a lot. Did you follow all that?
Yeah, we got the visuals coming in.
Yeah, it's a lot. Long story short, Bose does have that tiebreaker over Mike, meaning even if they both win, Bose takes the top spot. And after that, it just comes down to total points. Like Ace mentioned, the ranking in terms of total points right now is Mike, Bose, and then JMC in third.
There's really no chance for JMC to catch Mike as well. Mike is firmly, and there's really no chance for Bose to catch him as well. JMC could catch Bose. This is actually hilarious, he is exactly 200 points behind him. So if he outscores Bose this week by 200, and they both win, which that would be insane, JMC would have to put on like a record performance, there is a chance that he could sneak into that 1 or 2 seed with that as well.
Definitely. And of course, that being if all 3 teams win, this is all very simple if just 2 of them win.
Correct.
Yes. Obviously those 2 make those spots. And if just 1 win, they of course get that top spot in the league. And then we talked about Mike and Bose, and then otherwise it just comes down to head-to-heads. Okay. So that's our first one. And then, of course, the next one, which is, I would argue, even more exciting, because this is about getting into the playoffs. We have Ace, Prius, and Peach. Those 3 are in 5th, 6th, and 7th place, and they are jockeying for the 5th and 6th places to make it into the playoffs, and ultimately, to get in. Last team does not make it. Of course, this is the same thing. If 2 teams win, they're in. Obviously, I don't need to say that, but I'll say it anyway. So let's assume all 3 teams win. We'll start breaking down some tiebreakers. We'll start off with Ace, who does not have the matchup against either Prius or Peach. He lost all 4 of those games.
Well, okay, so I might have set you up for failure here. I did update this a little bit. I updated this based on, I coupled it with the points favored as well. So Prius, of course, I beat him this week, so I did win 1 matchup against him. However, he is so far ahead of me in points scored that the matchup didn't necessarily matter. It mattered in terms of me trying to stay alive in the playoff race. However, he would have had the seasoned record on because he blew me out the first week. It was over by 200 points or something like that.
Gotcha. Yes, and of course, season head-to-head record is that, yes. I think, 3rd tiebreaker there. Thank you. No. That's honestly my fault for not remembering the matchup we literally talked about 15 minutes ago. Formal or not, Ace does not have the tiebreaker over either Prius or Peach. So it would take... Ace needs a loss. Ace needs a loss from one of the 2. A loss from one of those 2 and a win from himself to get in. In Prius's case, of course, as we mentioned, he does have that sort of informal tiebreaker over Ace, and then is tied in terms of record with Peach. That's Flaming Prius. Big Peach does have, I believe, the formal win over Ace. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He does have the head-to-head match.
The head-to-head, 2 wins. Peach has got it over Ace, and like I mentioned, is tied with Prius. So, Prius and Peach are win and get in. If they win, no matter what, they are into the playoffs. Ace needs both a win and for one of them to lose for him to claim that 6th spot and sneak into the playoffs in the last week.
Yes, so this obviously, I'm certainly up against it. I don't have any tiebreakers going for me. I don't have points scored going for me. This is simply just I need to win and I need one of them to lose. So definitely, a lot of pressure going into this week. Big Peach absolutely stomped me in the last matchup we had. I think it was like 600 to like 320 or something like that. So... he definitely had some statement wins against me. And I believe Peach was also one of the guys I took on very early in the year. Yeah, Peach was my week 2 matchup. And that matchup was 470 to 447. So that just goes to show you, these early week matchups that we may think don't mean anything come playoff time could have huge, huge implications. And we're already starting to see that. Not even starting the playoffs, but simply before them.
Getting into it. Yeah, Ace, the beginning of that little speech, I've got no tiebreakers for me, I'm up against it, that's like the beginning of your World Series documentary. Just the audio of that over you like switching players in and out of your lineup.
Damn, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, we'll see. Obviously, this is going to be such a fun week to follow. I couldn't believe that when I realized it, that there are 6 matchups, and each one of those 6 matchups features one of the people who is sort of jockeying for a spot. That is just tremendous serendipity.
Absolute cinema.
Absolute fucking cinema. Could not be better. We are obviously looking forward to that, and we will be back next week, not only to recap the final week of the season, but to preview the first round of the playoffs. Sunday cannot come soon enough, and we are looking forward to seeing you then.
Yes, sir. It's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait.
Do you know what that makes you, Larry?
Lollygaggers.
Lollygaggers.